Anybody ready to get out of the house? It's great to see some familiar faces here. So many people who have helped, I think, both of us to create meaning in our lives and our businesses. So thanks for having us. Really grateful to be here. I am very grateful to have this conversation with Chris. Chris is someone who has created a lot of success, but also has done it in a very intentional way. He is dedicated to living a bold life. And that means living a life that matters and doing things that impact families and communities. And many of your lives already. So thanks for having this conversation with me.
Yeah, happy to. I think many of you will be surprised, because if you've heard me speak before around Chatham County, we're usually talking about real estate, or also talked a lot about economic development, as Michael knows, over the years. So today we're going to talk more about some more meaningful things. So I'm excited to have this conversation.
Yeah, so I have to call something out as we start here. This is likely the only time that all of us are going to be in the same room at the same time. Right? So if it's okay with you, I'm going to challenge us a little bit today, because I don't think any of you came here today wanting to waste this hour, or waste this day, or waste your time, or waste your life in the big picture. So if you're willing, I'm just going to push us a little bit to make the most of this time as we have this conversation. The things we're talking about today are things worth paying attention to. Because we could all leave here today a little inspired, or we could actually leave here and do something about the things that we hear. Which one do you want? Do something. Thank you. I like audience participation. It's great. Today we're talking about what it actually means to live a rich life. And now many times when you hear that, you think money, you think finances, you think accolades, you think accomplishments. But a truly rich life goes much deeper than that. So Chris, I'm going to ask you our first question. Many times when people hear that definition, like I said, they think of dollar signs. But for you, how has your definition of a rich life changed over time?
It's a great question. I can tell you, growing up, certainly if you said, what is a rich life? I would have 100% said money would have been my answer, financial riches. I grew up in a household where we didn't have a lot of money, so every decision was financially based. So it was always a cost-benefit analysis, and what was the financial trade-off? And can we get it cheaper elsewhere, or can we do it ourselves, or do we have to do this? And money just factored into everything in life. The good thing from that, though, was it gave me motivation that I wanted to have more financial riches. But what I saw, or thought I saw in people who had money, is I thought, and if you have money, you're going to be super happy. These people that have money and don't have to worry about these trade-offs, they're going to be the happiest people in the world. And I later learned that's a fallacy, of course. But the motivation, or the money riches was motivation for me of sort of a next step mentality. And I can remember as early as high school being, okay, what's that next step? And what do I need to do in order to make those financial improvements? And for me, I thought it was education, which was a good thing. And I learned that from my mom, because my mom grew up very poor, and she was the first and only member of her family to go to college. And at the time when I was little, she was a school teacher. And so that motivated me, okay, that's my way. That's my way to get rich. And so I did. And I did well in school, and was able to get into school here at Carolina, which brought me down to Chapel Hill, which changed the trajectory of my life as you look back on decisions and things like that. But it also continued to motivate me when I got out in the real world. And for probably the first half of my career, I was too focused on money. I majored in money. So I studied money, I understood money, which was great, and it helped me in the long term in terms of financial intelligence. But I made a lot of trade-offs, especially time trade-offs, that looking back were dumb decisions. Because I would do anything that could save me money. So, I'm in construction and real estate, so I can remember many of Saturdays where I would spend the Saturday out cleaning up the job sites, because it was, why would I pay somebody else $50 to clean the job site? Meanwhile, my time could have been used better, either enjoying life, or learning and educating myself better, or doing some higher level, money decision, making better use of my time. And for looking back, I realized I didn't have, I got financial success, but I had a highly paid job that took up all of my time. I didn't have a business. I didn't have, amazing life that I thought I would have with money. the big change or in my life, if you look at a single event, it was certainly becoming a father and the birth of our children. And then, instantly, it was like, oh my gosh, time is my most valuable asset. I want to spend more time with my kids. I want to be there for as much as I can. I can't keep working at the rate I'm working. And I need to transition these businesses to actually businesses and give myself my time back to spend and enjoy and live a rich life. And a rich life being spending time with my family. And so, the first rule I put in place at the time when they were born is I said, I am not going to do any work beyond 5:30, no matter what. And that was the first rule. But over time, I had a series of rules, and over the last 13 years, because our twin boys are 13 now, my wife, Deanna, is sitting here. She's holding somebody else's child. That's not her child in her lap. Deanna, can you wave to everybody? Our boys are 13 now, but if I look back, there were a lot of changes I've made over those 13 years in terms of, understanding that time is my most valuable asset, but also understanding the full aspect of life. So I like to call it the wheel of life, which I won't go into the full details of. I wrote a post about it on Bold Wealth. But basically, the wheel of life says, in my definition of the wheel, there's all these different aspects of your life that are important. Relationships, intimate, family, friends. There's health and wellness. There's adventure. There's personal growth, finance and career, contribution, helping others. All these other spokes on that wheel. But notice money isn't a spoke on that wheel. But money certainly does or can help fuel some of those other aspects. So money has it has a factor in all of our lives. So I like to say you need to minor in money and then use that money in order to fuel the things that really matter. And that's living a life aligned with your values and maximizing those other things.
I love that. Who needs coffee today? I'm awake. That was great. Time is the currency we use to invest in the things that matter. I'm going to say that one more time. Let's let that land in us right now. Time is the currency we use to invest in the things that matter. Your story so perfectly illustrates that. For me, I spent years building businesses that I loved them. Very meaningful work, impacting families and communities, women's lives, all across the world. And yet, if any of you are gardeners, you know that if you grow too many things in one space, they can start to crowd each other out, right? For me, a pivot point happened in my definition of success many times over, but one that I can remember very distinctly was about 4 years ago. The company that I had built over a long period of time was acquired, and in the same breath almost, my father passed away. And similar to you with the boy's birth, it was just one of those moments where the startling realization of the brevity of life and what really matters came to view. And I bet each of you has one of those moments, or many of them, where you've just come face to face with what really matters in life. So for me, that business being acquired also came with a very unexpected exit for me. I thought I'd stay there forever. That's not what happened. As we know, the statistics say that it's like very, very few people end up staying at their companies after they transact. And so that was me. And then my dad passed away, and the definition of what I thought defined me at the time in my work, in my life, in my purpose was suddenly stripped away. And so I had to ask myself, okay, what does success mean to me now without all these things that I thought defined me? Without my dad, who was my biggest cheerleader, without the business that gave me the ability to pour into people's lives. And that was a season for me of winter, of letting the ground lie fallow, right? We're seeing it right now outside. We can't have 5 springs in a row. We need winter in order for spring to come. I'm so grateful we have this weather because my bulbs are going to be amazing come spring. So, but it's the same with our lives. So for me, the definition of success is much quieter now, and it's all about what lasts. So much of our life, speaking of little by little things growing, comes through small breakthroughs, not big things that happen all at once. So what are maybe 1 or 2 daily habits that you have that have an outsized impact on your life today?
Well, I'm a huge huge fan of habits. You are the culmination of all the decisions you make, and a lot of those decisions are automated through your habits. And I tie habits always to goals. Hopefully everybody sets goals. A lot of people set New Year's resolutions, right? We're at the beginning of the year. And most people sort of put them off and they think, I'm going to accomplish this at some point before the end of the year. And for 364 days, you tell yourself that story. And then by the end of the year, you go, oh man, I didn't quite make it, or I didn't get anywhere near making it. Well, what I like to look at goals is setting a goal for a year and then say, okay, where do I need to be throughout, check-in points along the way, quarterly, monthly, weekly, and then what habits do I need to be doing on a daily basis in order to move towards accomplishing that goal. And when you automate those habits and you make those habitual, so you're doing them every day no matter what, over time it completely changes your life, because those habits compound. I like to use, I'm a numbers guy, so I like to think about, if you get 1% better every day, by the end of the year, you're 37 times better than you were at the beginning of the year. And that's just the power of compounding. So I think you asked for some specific examples, some habits. I could list dozens of them. Certainly, one thing I recognize is the importance of energy. I could see as I was in my 30s, I started feeling my energy really decline. Growing up, I was an athlete. I was into sports. I continued that through college, and then afterwards, kind of got lazy in my athletics and exercise and things like that. And I really saw my energy depreciate and decline. And energy affects so much in what you do and who you are as a person, I realize now looking back. So like one habit I have is I have to go to the gym, and I go work out hard every morning, 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock. And that is non-negotiable. And that's a habit I do 5 days a week. And if I don't do that, I can't handle stress at work. I'm just a different human being. But that habit, I've been doing that for about 10 years now. And the compound effect of that is I'm 49 years old, and I'm in the best shape I've ever been in my life. So, and I have energy to do the things I want to do and be there for my family and be there for my friends. And so that makes a huge difference. Another habit, a small habit I have, is just every morning I set 3 things I'm going to do that are priorities for the day. That helps you stay focused. Between my companies, I have about 50 different people that work for me. So inevitably, when I get to the office, there is going to be an issue I need to deal with. There's going to be emails I need to address. There's going to be people that want to talk to me. If you don't have a couple things that you focus on as your priorities, you're just going to be constantly in reactive mode. You're going to be putting out fires all day. Versus when you have those 3 priorities, and some days they're big items and some days they're small items. Some days it's, say, I want to get my inbox below 10, or I need to return these couple phone calls. And other times they're bigger, more important issues. But if you, at the beginning of the day, before you start, come up with those 3 things that you really want to accomplish for the day, it keeps you focused on the important things and not just addressing the urgent things. And I'm going to give you one more, and Laura asked for 2, but a money one, just because I do feel that minoring in money is important to fuel the other aspects of your life. Start saving and investing. The best time to start saving and investing was 10 years ago. Second best time is today. And if you don't do it today, in 10 years from now, guess what? You're going to regret you didn't do it 10 years ago. And investing, you don't have to invest a ton of money, but you got to get in the game. You hear a lot about there's the rich and there's the poor. There's no middle class anymore, and you read about that. A lot of that has to do with the people that are rich are getting richer, or people that have been investing money, they've been in the game, and those assets are appreciating. Real estate's at an all-time high. Stock market's at an all-time high. Gold's at an all-time high. All these commodities, you could invest in anything, and you would have more money. But if you stayed on the sideline and didn't, you missed out. So a simple habit, if you think, I don't have the money to invest, you do. I've used the analogy or the number example. You can come up with $7.50. So if you eliminate a coffee, you don't get a drink at lunch, you pack your own lunch, you figure out a way to find $7.50 a day. Like I said earlier, I'm approaching 50, so I look back, there's a 30-year horizon looking back. Over the last 30 years, if I put $7.50 in the S&P 500, 10% return per year, that $7.50 a day would turn into $500,000. That's the compounding of money, but that's getting in the game. So get in the game, invest. You can take that money and one day it can allow you to retire, it can allow you to take care of others, it can fuel whatever value or whatever on your wheel needs or wants that money, but you got to start investing and you got to take action today.